Section 15.6.8b. Special notice to shareholders. Tony Stark. I know you're reading this. I asked myself, what is the one thing we can guarantee that Tony Stark can't let go? Money can be remade. You don't seem to care too much for your gaudy suits with a new one each month. Friends? Nah. No one could destroy your relationships faster than you. It's the name. Your name. Your father's name. Your company. And what's left is mine now. I know you still get these shareholder reports under a series of false names. And that continues because I allow it. Because it lets me pour salt on a wound that you graciously hold open. You know that AIM let me have these holdings for a bare song and dance. You can read how little it was worth on page 124. But to me, of course, it was priceless. Follow along, Tony, from whatever little hole you've scurried into, and watch as I take apart everything you've made, and build it again, in my name.
On a personal note, we haven't worked together before, so I thought it fair that we establish protocol. We allowed you to purchase the Stark holdings because I knew that it would personally infuriate Tony, which will in turn keep him emotional, reactive, and predictable. However, you will function effectively as a subsidiary of AIM. You will sell to us first at the prices I set. I must stress that this is not up for discussion or debate. I own enough shares to oust you before lunch, should you and I fall out of each other's good graces. I hope you will understand and appreciate my bluntness in this matter, but it's better that we get on the same page now. Please don't think of this as a threat, but a motivating promise. I look forward to many years of doing business together. M. Rappaccini.
Monica, you've gone too far this time. I will not allow... Scratch that, back up. Monica, I'm afraid that I cannot allow your most recent amendment to our contract. We can have our legal emissaries fight over the details, but if this comes to light, it could ruin me. And if I am facing criminal charges, then... Scratch, back up. Monica, I need to speak with you in person at your earliest convenience. If I understand what you're intending to do with the latest prototypes, it is not only immoral, but breathtakingly stupid and... Scratch. Monica, don't do this. I don't know what... No, never mind. Just damn it all, Justin. She's gonna eat you alive. What have you gotten yourself into? Scratch. Stop dictation and delete file.
Esteemed Mr. Hammer, I gamed this out 100 ways, and in exactly 0 of them, I get out with my dignity. So let's get this over with. I'm not going to make this a joke. I need your help, and I'm willing to grovel. In addition to offering you money, of course. My shame is priceless, but not legal tender. I know you're smart enough to know what we're doing. Because I am debasing myself like this, then you must know you have something we need, desperately, to keep doing what we're doing. I know you're not a good man, but I know you're not like her. I know appeals to your morality aren't likely to motivate you, hence the money. And a promise. Seeing Monica knock down one peg at a time. I know you see the value in that. When I went down, you made a fortune in my wreckage. You can do it again. Help us now, and we'll help you.
Tony, forgive me for enjoying this moment more than is seemly, but I read your email more than once, and enjoyed your more poetic self-deprecation. Your attempts at earnest humility are charming, if not particularly authentic. But I believe your aim is sincere. If I thought there was more blood in this stone, I'd make you dance a little longer. But that wouldn't be sportsmanlike. No one likes a sore winner. You know that best of all. Given our mutual understanding of our new positions and stations, I believe that we can assist each other. You are indeed correct with regard to my business partner. I would be happy to see her suffer how you did. Now, if I have any hint that you intend to deceive me, I will hand you directly to her. Believe me, you don't want that. You think you know her. You don't. We must be cautious from here.
Maria, let's go for twice in one day. You were right. It was the hesitation that was killing me, so I did the Band-Aid thing, like you said. The fast Band-Aid thing, not the wait for it to come off on its own Band-Aid thing. He ate it up. The groveling worked so well he barely tried to bargain. Always stunning how smart people can be so consistently and predictably stupid. Do not say the next thing you were about to say. Skip it. Pretend that I engage in self-reflection from time to time. He thinks we bought a subscription, but I just need one delivery. As soon as we get it, we'll reverse engineer the AIM systems that Hammer has integrated with my old patents. Once we understand the interface, we can replicate the hybrid circuits without his tech, and then we no longer need Justin Hammer. But let's keep pretending as long as we can. We don't need any more enemies right now, and this is an opportunity to keep one close.
Dear Dr. Pym, as part of our recent acquisition of Stark Industries, I came into possession of a great deal of documents and correspondence that Stark had never responded to. Yours, of course, was among the numerous missed opportunities. Part of our company culture has been to not only learn from past failures, but to succeed where our predecessors did not. Stark and the rest of his associates have left behind ample opportunities for both. It has always been clear to me that Stark harbored some dull and juvenile resentment of you and your accomplishments, but we don't need to let that hinder us any longer. AIM would be honored to partner with Pym Technologies in the continuing relief and repair efforts in the Bay Area. Beyond that, I can think of a dozen initiatives that I would kill just to have you consult with us for an afternoon. But that's just scratching the surface. I'd love to meet at your earliest convenience. Monica.
Hope. It was unforgivable for me to snap at you like that. I am embarrassed, and I owe you an explanation. First, I hear your concerns about AIM and tying the fate of Pym Technologies so close to them. I listen to you, and I agree, because I've had those same concerns myself. I wasn't mad at you. I was scared. After being sidelined by Stark for so long, I'm finally feeling like I'm able to do some good in the world. I was never fully honest with you. I told you that it was no longer healthy for me to use the suit, but it's worse. I did damage to my nerve tissue in the early days of experimentation, and now it's had a cumulative effect. One more time, and it would almost certainly kill me, or worse. I can't tell you how impossibly hard it is to give up the thing that defines you. But in these last few weeks, it's the closest I've felt to being a hero again. I just can't lose that. But that's no excuse for being a jerk. I'm sorry. I love you. I know you shut my internal access down to your division's research. How long do you think you can hide this? I may not have a full picture of whatever unforgivable moral lapse you've indulged in, but I know enough to end your career, at the very least. They're people, Dr. Forsen. You've violated every oath you ever took, and you have no right to do what you've done to them. I can't imagine the scale and the scope of the fraud that it took to keep this hidden. I guess I'd be impressed if it wasn't in pursuit of unforgivably unethical human testing, the scale of which would have made Mengele jealous. I gave you an opportunity to turn yourself in, but you chose to try and lock me out, so now it seems I have to do it for you, because you can't be allowed to continue like this. I can't even imagine how furious Monica will be when she sees what you've done, right under her nose. You're done.
We're going to need to move up the timetable with Dr. Pym. He thought he had the leverage to deliver an ultimatum about our research with the inhuman subjects. As such, I've concluded that his usefulness as a willing ally has reached its natural end. I want him picked up before he hits the parking lot tonight. Use your best discretion. He's already running hot after his moral crisis and likely to behave irrationally when cornered. Gloves off at your discretion. There's a cell prepped, third shielded sub-basement. Relocate him and report back. We will have a limited amount of time before a missing persons report is filed, and I have some creative bookkeeping and asset transfers to accomplish. If all goes as planned, we'll have majority ownership of his company, and he'll be legally declared dead. We already got more than our investment out of Dr. Pym. Now we just take him off the board for a few years.
Dear Hope, I hope you find this actual written letter quaint, because it's all I've got at the moment. Maybe I'll even find a way to send it. I love you, and I miss you terribly, but let me be brief and try and catch you up. I'm currently on the run from an extra-national corporation with a standing army and zero regard for human rights, following an extended, illegal imprisonment. Again, you were right. With me are dozens of terrified civilians, all of whom have been the victims of horrendous abuse, and currently, I'm responsible for all their safety since it was me who persuaded them to organize our escape. We are tired, exhausted, starving, and currently have minimal shelter and supplies. And I haven't been this happy in a decade. I'm doing my very best to be very serious and stoic, so they don't think I've lost my mind. But for the first time since I wore the suit, I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm a hero again. You'd be proud of your old man. I love you so much, kiddo.
Tony, a quick, slightly awkward heads up. I imagine you'll be giving the Chimera a thorough once-over while you fix her up. By now, you know the Hulk spent a few years holed up there. It's not my finest hour, but I suppose she was our version of Golden Acres. I wanted to warn you, there might be a pile or 3 of random gear stowed in some weird places. Big Green got into collecting things while he wandered the halls. Got to know the place pretty well. Found a lot of hidey holes. I think he was trying to connect with the past, surround himself with mementos of happier times. Anyway, I tried to find them all yesterday, but I'm pretty sure at least 1 or 2 are left. The whole episode's pretty hazy. So, ping me if you find any of this stuff. The flip side is, if you're missing something from 5 years ago, chances are it's part of a Hulk nostalgia pile. So, yeah.
Dear Peggy, by the time they actually let me send you this letter, I imagine you'll already know. The reports of my death, as they say, have been, greatly exaggerated. Do they still say that? I assume twain never goes out of fashion, but I once thought that about high-waisted men's slacks. I am alive. It doesn't feel fair. I was given a second chance once, and I swore to make the most of it. If I'm being charitable, I think I did. Most days. I knew I was living on borrowed time, and I was grateful for every second. It feels different this time, coming back. The first time I woke up to see a new world we created with our sacrifice. Now, I see what we've created with our hubris. I don't believe any man deserves a third chance at life, especially when I think about all the people who had their first lives cut short. But here I am. I can't change that fact. All I can do is make the most of it, and make as many things right as I can. Till we meet again, Steve. Dear Peggy, they've still got tests for me after my time up there. It's given me an opportunity to process, as Bruce says. My memory feels like someone shot it full of holes. Gaps I can't fill. But those last few seconds feel like yesterday. I saw what was coming underneath the bay. Something deep beneath, hot enough to light up every one of the Chimera's scopes, pulsing in time to our overloading reactor. The seismograph screamed that the big one was coming, imminent. It was so clear to me then. I was there to earn my second chance. I didn't hesitate. I destroyed the reactor. I knew I wasn't coming out alive, but I could save millions. After that, it's all a fog. Monica was there. Maybe. I thought perhaps she was administering medicine to me and then to George. But the syringe was filling, and I was slipping away into the dark. I know I'd do it again in a heartbeat. It was the right call in that moment to save the most lives. So now, I need to think about the long run of bad calls that led us all to that point. Because there's a lot we have to answer for. Steve. Dear Peggy, when the Avengers grew, I always felt like I was struggling to grow with it, to be the best man I could be. Now I worry I won't be able to live up to their expectations. It's not just the Avengers. There's what's left of S.H.I.E.L.D., rising out of the ashes thanks to Maria Hill. And now the Inhumans, and Pym's resistance. All of us under the same roof, so to speak. All of them looking at me. Tony used to like to say that I was the best of us. But that was never true. I try. But I could never be as good as the world needs me to be. No one could. But I can be a mirror, for them to see the best of themselves. That's the secret. I only ever reflected what they had inside. I laid awake last night wondering if I could still be that mirror. In the morning, Nat looked right at my bloodshot eyes and punched me in the arm. Gave me that little smirk. She believes in me. They all do. And I'm not in the business of letting people down. Steve. Dear Peggy, I feel like a fool. I've spent these hours fretting about how much everyone needs me, and whether I'm still up to the task. They don't need me. We were broken and scattered, but it wasn't me that pulled the Avengers back together. It was a teenage girl. Someone who grew up idolizing us. Someone who saw herself in our mirror. She got Bruce and Tony talking again. She got them all back together. By the time I was up from my beauty rest, the Avengers were whole again. I had nothing to do with it. You should see them right now. Avengers new and old. Just back from a mission giddy with success. They earned every minute of it, and I couldn't be more proud. If I walked off this ship right now and vanished forever, they'd still go on and save the whole world again and again. I don't doubt that for a second. It makes my chest want to burst with the glory of it. I'm not, of course. Wouldn't dream of it. Just because they don't need me, that doesn't mean I don't need all of them. And you. Till we meet again. Steve.
It's over. There's no way S.H.I.E.L.D. survives the year in any recognizable form. If A-Day and our association with the Avengers don't drag us under, DC will do the rest. Every political enemy we have smells blood in the water. And they're already talking about redistributing budget and assets. I'm sorry, sir. I know I don't have to tell you, but despite my reservations, I did everything I could. And I don't regret a minute of it. If you'll allow me to be trite, It's been an honor. So we play it as planned. I'll remain as acting director as we shut off the lights. We can't save everything, but we can play the shell game like no one else in this town. After that, I'll take the first transfer I can to some safe agency, lay low at a desk for a year or two, and we'll see which way the storm clouds blow. And you and Clint, do what you do best. Till we meet again, sir. It's difficult to predict the nightmare scenario that would force us to publicly gut our own agency, commit several $1 billion of theft from the government, and attempt to hide the assets in a series of rotating black sites, all while trying to rebuild an unfunded and highly illegal shadow version of S.H.I.E.L.D. in total secrecy. But Fury knew it was a possibility, so we planned for it. Thanks to Dugan's last retrieval, we're about ready to enter administrative hibernation. When the time comes to emerge, we'll have a nest ready. It won't be much, but it will be enough to support us. So, now we disappear, and wait for my signal. I don't know when it will come or what changes the next few years will bring, but we'll be ready. Because we have to be. This is not the end. I'll have the honor of serving with you each again, someday soon. Stay safe. I know you're eager to get started, and you know I am too, but it is not time yet. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. We can't afford a single mistake at this stage, or the results would be catastrophic. We knew we would be rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. in secret, under the nose of a hostile entity. But while we got away with 2 or 3% of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s assets, tools, and weapons, AIM has the other 97%. There is no margin of error. Which is why my answer is also no. Far too few of us came in when I sent the signal. We're still tracking the other threads, but it looks like this may be the extent of our team for now. I don't blame anyone for staying underground, but that makes my job a lot harder. I am responsible for all of them, even if they don't want to come back yet. We go slow, like molasses. Erase your footprints. Turn off the lights behind you. From here on out, every day, we have to be perfect. You coddled us, Nick. I know you thought you were protecting us by keeping your secrets, but now that we're following in your footsteps trying to read your tea leaves, I know you kept something important from me. I put out the signal, but not many came back. I don't know if it's gonna be enough. S.H.I.E.L.D. was an organization of specialists, with a breadth of knowledge stretching across hundreds of disciplines. But that was before, when we were thousands strong. We're only a fraction of that now. And it leaves great holes in our ability to mount any resistance to AIM. We have one of the world's finest combat pilots, but no planes. I have a combat engineer with no ordnance. We're not a coherent fighting force, we're barely a bucket brigade. But damn it if it doesn't feel good to be back together again. You'd love it. You're a hell of an act to follow. But I'm doing my best. I don't recall the last time you replied to this address. Sooner or later, I'll just have to break the habit. What can I tell you? Things change. If we're gonna fight AIM, we're gonna need every asset. That means we need every Avenger and every agent we can get. I'm starting to realize some things standing in Fury's shoes. The man had a sense for the future that borders on the uncanny. A partnership between the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. made no sense to me in peacetime. But Fury was making sure our relationship was strong before we ever needed to test it. He saw all the ways the future might break, and he planned for them. We can skip the boring macho posturing and preening because it does not interest me. You need us as much as we need you. The Avengers need a support network. You need S.H.I.E.L.D. We can be each other's safety nets, because there is no way we survive this without each other. And I plan to survive. To Morales, from Hill. I'm not interested in your apologies, because I don't require one from you. You did exactly what I instructed. When it came down to asset retrieval or survival of your team, you did the right thing. Everyone came home. That alone makes it a success. Yes, I know exactly what we lost. To be clear, I know better than you do. But S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't our assets. A warehouse full of weapons alone won't stop a single threat. S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't Fury's fancy secrets either, despite how much it feels like we're chasing them. I'm starting to think the old man compartmentalized more out of habit and inclination than security. S.H.I.E.L.D. is us. S.H.I.E.L.D. is the team. Each and every one of us. And today we are undiminished thanks to your fast thinking. In the end, we don't need any of those things to get back on our feet. Look at us. We're already standing.
It's taken a little more time than I would have liked to get back into the old routines. If anyone has noticed that I'm still a bit slower or unsteady on my feet, they've avoided mentioning it. It's a weakness I can't afford to show for much longer. I'm taking more of an interest in the alien artifacts that remain in AIM control following George's little tantrum. We have enough fragments and pieces of the extraterrestrial automaton to safely make a variety of conclusions. Spectrographs confirm the obvious. It's constructed from material originating outside our solar system. It's bipedal, suggesting its creators either share a similar structural morphology with us, or that they wanted to show a familiar form to the natives. It was also damaged at some point in the distant past, presumably when it was made to lay dormant beneath the bay. Given the presence of Terrigen in the automaton, I would say that the connection to the creation of the inhuman genome in the distant past is likely. Our need for Terrigen is only growing, but we need to be cautious drawing any more from the remains of the automaton. There are too many unanswered questions here.
Because I refuse to write it down. I've told you this before, Banner. This is the domain of a skald, not a scribe. These things are not to be trapped in twisted lines on paper. You will make do with legends in the way legends were meant to be told. Half forgotten, with body details added. We know that before gods journeyed to Earth, something else visited this world and laid their hands upon humanity. But where we as Guardians cast ourselves as your protectors, these visitors had other aims for mankind. They came to Midgard not from the Nine Realms, but from the cold stars beyond. Know that they were already a great empire in the stars, when time itself was young. No, I will not attempt to affix a date to that statement, and I resent the request. May I? The visitors took whole tribes of man and left an invisible mark upon their very flesh that continued down through generations. We, as Guardians, could sense this glyph on some humans, like an artist's signature, but we did not know what it meant. But it seems you now know exactly what it means. They are your Inhumans.
To the extent that it's possible, I'm keeping the various project heads working on this research siloed and ignorant of each other's findings. It means I have to do most of the synthesis on my own, which takes time I resent spending. But I don't think most of them are ready to accept the implications of what we've uncovered. We have direct evidence of an alien race having visited the Earth nearly 70,000 years ago. At the same time, we have a subspecies of human arising, presumably through intentional extraterrestrial genetic modification. But there's another unpleasant alignment. The modification of inhuman DNA occurs at the same geological time as the Toba event, the largest volcanic eruption in 25 million years. In the decades-long winter after, human populations dropped to as low as 1,000 individuals. All things told, triggering a volcanic eruption of that size would not be terribly difficult for AIM today. It would just be suicidal. So it seems, in order to ensure rapid inhuman propagation, our alien visitors either took advantage of the genetic bottleneck caused by a global catastrophe, or they created it on purpose.
We knew these unseen artists would return to see their great work unfold, but we waited millennia. We fought mighty wars with Jotunheim, and still we waited. We drank and fought and caroused across the realms. We saw the rise and fall of Atlantis, and still we waited. No, No follow-ups about Atlantis. That's not what this story is about. We believed we were ready to face them. We were wrong. They came from the stars as a single warrior, a champion of iron and glass that scraped the clouds and strode across the world in one mighty bound. We gathered all the heroes of Asgard to defend Midgard from the Star Giant. Many brave Asgardians entered Valhalla that day. The Star Giant fought with weapons unknown and fierce, and we grappled across the sky through day and night. And at last, we cast the Star Giant down beneath the skin of the world. There, he would slumber until the eve of... I am concerned that you're taking these tales at face value, Banner. That is most decidedly not what these stories are for. Yes, I was there. Yes, we conquered a giant from the stars. But if you're looking for truth, I'm afraid it's long lost in the glory of the telling.
Assuming the aliens who created the inhuman genome are the same species who created the automaton beneath the bay, that gives us a rough timeline. The visitors arrive just before or just after a global catastrophe that reduces the human population of the Earth to only a few thousand. They take a portion of the survivors and alter their DNA for some unknown reason. This inhuman genome lies dormant until activated, and human populations begin to grow again, both inhuman and unaltered alike. Thousands of years later, they send the automaton. I surmise it was to observe their experiment. The automaton has weapons unlike any we've ever seen, but the vast majority of its systems are geared towards observation and recording. But when it arrived, someone here on Earth put it down, forcing it to hibernate beneath the bay. I don't like that unknown. There's another player on the board. Finally, just before its destruction, it sent a transmission. We're still trying to make sense of the chaos in the signal, but we can tell where in the sky it was pointing. Somewhere in the large Magellanic Cloud. All of which leaves us with a near inescapable conclusion. Sooner or later, they're coming back.
Here's what we know, thanks to AIM's pilfered research as well as my own rough tests. At some point in the past, aliens visited this planet and altered the DNA of some humans. I know, I had a similar resistance to that, but I can walk you through the various proofs if you need. It's true. I'd always shrugged off the pulp ancient aliens theories because they reeked of post-colonial racist condescension. No one ever second-guesses the architectural achievements of ancient peoples in Europe, but they have a hard time believing humans closer to the equator could have built a pyramid. Transparent, really. But it seems inescapable that aliens did visit. The Inhumans are the result of alien interference. We can test for the Inhuman gene and we can map it. Beyond that, I don't know how to prepare for the future. They're literally everywhere. All over the world, lying dormant, not even knowing what they have inside them. They may never activate in their lifetimes, or we could have another A-Day tomorrow. I don't know. These are uncharted waters.
Hey, Doc. I thought about your offer a bunch, and I just wanted to let you know that I have definitely and definitively decided that I am not ready to make a decision about it yet. Sorry. I just don't know if I could let my family be tested for the Inhuman gene without their consent. I know you would tell me to get samples without them knowing, just like by digging through their trash or whatever, but honestly, that feels even worse. And what if one of them does show up as a carrier? So I learn where this unique DNA in me comes from. Maybe my mom has it. What would I even do with that information? What would we do with it? Does it go on yet another list? I mean, how long until that happens if it hasn't already? Huh. Sounds like I talked myself out of it. Okay. Thank you, but no. We can't change who we are or what we're made of. I'm all in favor of knowing all you can, but that's a decision someone has to make for themselves. All we could learn is who in my family has the potential in them. the potential to be great. I guess I prefer to assume that we all do.
I appreciate you keeping me in the loop with your research, Doctor. I don't particularly like the long-term implications of what you're telling me, but that's not your concern. Fury and I made it our business to know about the locations and potential of all individuals above the baseline. If I'm being frank, the Avengers was as much about keeping you all where we could see you as anything else. Now, of course, those numbers have skyrocketed following A-Day. That alone is a headache worthy of one of Thor's little stories, but it's worse than that, isn't it? There's thousands more of them out there. Just waiting. I know you don't want to hear this, but what we need is a database of known carriers of the Inhuman gene. I'm not proposing we violate anyone's civil rights, but we have a portion of the population carrying alien DNA and a hidden potential for massive destruction. If we're not willing to be prepared, we are guaranteed to be caught off guard. Just think about it. Please. All right, ignore the email I just sent from the official accounts. There's no way in hell we're leaving the Chimera in anyone else's jurisdiction. The sharks are circling, so we need to be prepared for the worst. My contacts in Washington say the investigation is not going well for S.H.I.E.L.D. It still sounds insane to me, but they tell me the math checks out. 18 cargo Quinjets attached at strategic locations on the Chimera's hull should provide enough lift to extract our vessel and carry it to our black site in Utah. I'll get you the pilots, but I want you two to be on the ground in San Francisco. Waltz in and act like we still own the place, and then get airborne as soon as you can, before they declare an official quarantine. Once we have it back in our possession, I will politely remind everyone of their non-disclosure agreements, and then we'll make the Chimera disappear. Doesn't matter how big she is in the end, all our assets are just line items on a spreadsheet. Easy enough to make those vanish. Stay sharp. This is gonna get worse before it gets better.
Good news, bad news sort of a situation, Hill. We're in the air now, and the Chimera is holding steady beneath the Quins. She sways a bit with the wind, but we're up above the turbulence now. Radar is clear, so it looks like we got away clean. Arrival in plus or minus 3 hours now. Here's the bad part. We weren't the first aboard. When we arrived, there was a team in hazmat suits already crawling over her. Not S.H.I.E.L.D., not any agency badges I recognized. Judging by the shiny new faceplates, I'd say they were private contractors. They had clearance. They claimed they were a decontamination crew just finishing up with a sweep. They also had a military escort, so we played nice. But it was a front. I don't know who they were, but they were there for the Terrigen reactor, and they got it. The entire crystal accelerator chamber has been removed, gutting the internal power system. If this bird is ever going to fly again, it's going to be on traditional power. I'd say we should report it as a theft, but we're in a bit of a glass house. This whole damn thing stinks to high heaven. Someone was ready for this.
Evacuate the Chimera. This is not a drill. Begin evac at once. We've been tracking the Hulk across the state since last night, and we now have an 82% certainty that he is on his way to you. God only knows how he found it or what led him out here. You have approximately 17 minutes until he arrives, depending on how well he can navigate those canyons. I know how much I said we need the Chimera, but I need you all alive much more. We don't know the Hulk's mental state since Banner's disappearance, but it's highly unusual for him to travel in this form for so long, so he is not likely to be rational. Grab your drawers and get into your emergency transports. This is only temporary. When the Hulk moves on or when Banner comes around, we'll get back on site to continue repairs. It's only a matter of time. The Chimera will fly again. This is just another setback. Stay safe.